Hey everybody, Spoonfed here, and now this time we're gonna boot the AVG Rescue Disk. You can all get these free of charge, I believe, at least not that I know of that you have to pay for it, to basically help you with cleaning up your system. Most of them are Linux environments. No, all of them I think are Linux environments. No, that's not true. There's one. Damn, I forgot which one it was. It's a Windows pre-install environment or PE environment. Yeah, I think so. No internet connection available. I know that's true. So I could not do the latest because I have. This is the Vista one that is still connected to the gateway, but I've shut down the gateway, so it cannot connect to the internet, which is fine with me. Yeah, just scan volume. Well, you don't need to scan this volume because that's the CD itself. Report password protective. No. Archive bombs. Yes. Scan cookies. Hidden extensions. That's yes. Okay, go. So 0 is the 100% mark. So far so good. The release date for this fire database is quite old. It's 26th of August. But in defense of that, it does not necessarily have to be upgraded at this point because this Windows Vista thing is like from 2009. So it's not like there could be viruses in there with a release date that would have to be between 26th of August now and between 26th of August and now. So I'm very confident that if there is any malware in there, that we should find it. This is also a thing that you can do for yourself, as it were, when getting releases off of torrent sites or whatever for your own use or for VMware use, and you want to check out if they're not full of Trojans. Best thing you can do is just install them as normal. Yeah, there we go. We have Trojan horse dropper.agent.qpn images hacker T, and it's probably something to do with having like custom-made images or something like that for the Windows environment. But still, it's called a Trojan horse dropper. So ultimate operating system, you failed because the 100% mark now is on 1, and I have to keep track of this, so I will write it down soon. Because I did not pack pen and paper right now. No. But that's good, I'm glad we found something because was ultimately my goal. And I have to make a clone each time I do this because this one finds new stuff and it will try to delete them, of course, which is fine with me because I want to see if it gets deleted. And then I have to make a new clone of the old one to run the new system disk recovery. I've got about 7 of them, I think, 7, 8, maybe more. But so far AVG is up in rank, so that's good. It's good to know. Wow, it's a lot of gadgets it wants to. Password protector. Wow. Sarah McCain get it in there? Did I see that correctly? That's bad. Also, what's the point of having the K-Lite codec pack stuff? I mean, if you install VLC, you're pretty much done, right? Not really sure what the added value of that is. But maybe people out there are like, no, it's very important to have that because such and such and so. What I have to say is that the interface for the AVG Rescue Disk is pretty abysmal. Ah, cool. I did not go on any website so far, at least not to my knowledge. I only did the check.torproject.org, and I did the, which was the other site, 2 times Google or something. That's what I did. And I already have goddamn tracking cookies. That's horrible. This is something I consider as well. I think that needs to be exterminated, as it were. Tracking cookies are horrible things. So we already have 1 Trojan, and we have, let me quickly count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 6. 6 tracking cookies. Alright, it's not too bad. So that's the new score. It's the highest score to beat. It's now in the Windows. Okay, it's in the Windows thing. The reason I thought of this little mini series, as it were, is that I had to fix a computer for somebody, and I thought, well, normally I already only use one rescue disk, which in my view is the best one, which this series has to determine if it's the best one. And then at the end I will say, of course, that's the one I always use because that's the best one, and I'm always right then. No, but I normally use that one, but I thought, you know what, I'll give others a chance too, and I ran 2 others, but they did not nearly get as much Trojans and malware and stuff like that as did the one that I normally use. So I thought, well, that settles it for me. I will always use my standard one. But then I thought, well, you know, I have to get this out on YouTube or whatever, because people need to see this. You know, you need to see for your own eyes. Well, it has taken this long to scan. That's something else, of course. I did not time it right now, but you can easily tell by the length of the YouTube videos which one is the longest scanner and which one isn't. So I'm not going to be too difficult about that. But also which one catches the most. And this is not a particularly good clean test because do not know what malware is on there. It could be that all the systems fail at that, but that's why I did a black box test, as it were. So I just got a image off of the internet that supposedly has Trojans, and then just run this on and see what it is, and then basically, like I said, the system is going to be whichever one finds the most, that's the best, and whichever finds the least is the worst. And so far, alternate operating system suite is the worst because it didn't find anything. And as you didn't find anything, well, that's the worst you can be. And like I said, these things are not updated like to the max, but it doesn't need to be, as the image is from 2009. We're almost through here. I must say, I know everybody has something to complain about every operating system. You can complain stuff about Linux that has its pros and cons. Windows has its pros and cons. Macintosh or Unix has its pros and cons, and so on and so on and so on. But the one thing I really annoys me about Windows the most is the amount of crap you get on your hard disk. Is really, I mean, look at this. All your stuff you see, software distribution slash download slash some random, I don't know, identifier number, and then some whole bunch of crap behind it. That, do you need this? Is this something that people need on their hard disk? And the way Windows handles hard disk space, it's just, if you have like 20 compartments, it starts at compartment 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then maybe 2 gets empty, but it keeps continuing at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then so on, so on, so on. So that's where you get the gaps. That's why you get the defragmentation. In contrary to how Linux works, is you have 20 containers. You do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 2 gets empty, then 2 gets filled first, and then you get move on to 6. So you never get defragmentation. Or fragmentation, I mean, sorry. So if you're already aware of that, how your system works like that, why on earth put more crap on your system that you might not need? To even not speak about stuff like registry. So that's the main thing I don't like about Windows. It's the it's not transparent, so it's the opaqueness of it all, as it were, and it's the the registry in combination with the totally you don't have any insight into it as well, unless you like run these sort of scans and you look at it and you're thinking, do I need all of that? Can I just not delete it? And if I do need it, why only download? I mean, it's software distribution download, so it looks like to me that it's either been downloaded for updates. Could be that these are all the updates that you need to download, but then still, I cannot imagine that there are so many updates that you need to keep lying around. But it might just be me. I mean, the structure for Windows is pretty complicated anyway. I mean, the file structure always works the same. You put stuff in directories, and that's about it actually. But whereas Linux has a fairly simplistic way of ordering things. I mean, you have bin, which consists of standard applications everybody uses. You have sbin, which is only for the super user to use, like system tools, as it were. You have the dev directory, which has all the devices in there which need to be loaded, and so on and so on and so on. You have a home directory, you have an optional directory, you have a mount directory, you have a media directory, which one? You have a proc directory which hosts like stuff about your system, like the memory, the CPU, whatever. And then you have a user directory which consists of all the files that you need. So it's pretty simplistic, but it works. It works quite well actually. And then in Windows, you kind of have the same system. I mean, everything is in Windows, but in the Windows map itself, it's the directory. It's like this explosion of directories and files that you have no idea what they do. Like, for instance, now, I mean, look at it. It's Windows System 32. Everybody knows that it's the important directory. But then you have cat root, and then you have this vague identifier, and then you have countless of packages for knowledge base items, which are basically the hotfixes for Windows. And you're like, do we need that? Is that something I want? I mean, it works. Windows works quite well, except for Windows 8, of course. But I mean, I'm quite wondering actually what you people, so my subs, what you think of Windows 8. I personally hate it. I could not imagine anything uglier than that in terms of design, but also in terms of the marketing strategy behind it. It's that, oh no, everybody should also buy a touchscreen monitor, and that's totally new way to go, that you slide stuff from your smartphone onto your screen of your PC, which is all fine and dandy, but the problem is most people do not have a touchscreen monitor at home and will not buy one just because their operating system says so. In addition to that, there are a lot of videos out there that are about older people getting to know Windows 8, and they're like, where's the start button? Which is a excellent question, because you have a feature that has been in there since, well, Windows 3.1 actually, is a start button. Why remove that? Why now, actually? And I have to agree with well, what's his name again? Keep forgetting his name. Guy from Ubuntu. Damn, I forgot his name. Well, doesn't matter. It will come back to me. That guy said you have a sort of hybrid version of styles. On the one hand, you have the old environment from Windows 7, as it were, with the desktop background and the taskbar and the look and feel of that. But then if you make a click somewhere or a certain action, then you get thrown into the new design, and then you click somewhere there and you get thrown again back to the old design. That's very bad design issue, actually. So because that would be like you have Macintosh, they would like invent something new, and then when you click something, you go back to the old Macintosh environment, and then you go back to the new, and then you go back to the old, and then you go into new, old. It's both. They should just go on with it all the way, and then stick with only the new. At least then you're fully committed and dedicated. And if it fails, it fails, but at least it's consistent and it looks a lot better than having half-half. Other than that, a lot of people, I mean, I've mentioned Ubuntu now, but so I have to say something about that, and that is, despite what a lot of people think about Ubuntu, I mean, they did go into a direction that might have been controversial to some, especially with the whole Unity interface, but it looks very well. I mean, I have to say that it looks very well. It's intuitive to use, and it just looks right. I mean, if you have a laptop or you have a big screen or whatever, it just looks right, and it works fantastic actually. I mean, I do not notice any difference between that and having a start menu with all the applications in it. Both work equally fine. Something else that is a pain in Ubuntu is making like themes and stuff like that, especially now, which is a problem, but I think they're working on that. And then you have Macintosh. Macintosh has not changed the design since, well, I think forever. I mean, they maybe added some sleekness to it or some drop shadows and stuff like that, but oh no, the core product is still the same as it was 20 years ago. So do we need design changes to make a appealing product? Well, probably not, but you need to go along with whatever's out there. I mean, Apple's known for its simplicity, and it worked then and it works now. It's just a little bit more polished, as it were. Ubuntu worked then, but doesn't work now as it used to do then, because the Linux community had a long way to go in terms of graphics, because graphics was always the big issue with Linux. I mean, command line interfaces worked like a charm, and you could do a lot of things with it. But then when the simple desktop environments came out, they were, I'm sorry to say, they were ugly as hell. I would not work with one of those in those times, because Windows was way more ahead of them, in Macintosh especially as well. So that took a while to get there, but now, I mean, it's not my style, but Chakra definitely has a good looking product. aside from Ubuntu, which I'm not using personally, but I quite like the aesthetics of it. Then we have Bodhi Linux, which uses E17, as well as the old new Pen 2012. I don't know how to explain it anymore, but the old beta, that one has a very nice interface as well. So I sincerely hope, that Windows 8 will drive more people to Linux, and it doesn't really matter what distro. I mean, look at my channel. I have like 150 videos on distros alone, with distinctly maybe 100 videos, 100 distros, because sometimes I do updates. Let's make it 80. Let's make it 80. That's 80 distros to choose from. That's 80 operating systems, which in each you can probably lose yourself in. I think that maybe is too much for the new consumer. I mean, somebody looking into Linux thinking, what should I use, usually gets the answer, you should either use Linux Mint or Ubuntu, which in theory is actually a good start. But it could be that CentOS is something he really likes, because he's a system administrator and he had a lot of tools in Windows, but he also wants to keep the same tools in Linux. Or he wants to use Unix, because he was used to having a Tor application running on his Windows, and he's completely dependent on Tor. But he had Tor on all his computers in the house, and he thought, maybe I can do that easier. And he has created one server that is Torifying everything, but it was a Windows server. But he wants to completely step off of Windows, and that's why he needs Unix. Just to name an example, it's a pretty far-fetched example, but it could be. What do we have more? Ah, we have another one. Cool. Some Trojan horse dropper agents. We now have 3 Trojans and still 6 cookies. I think, yeah, 6 cookies. So all in all, I hope that more people go to Linux market. I mean, it's free. It's better maintained. I feel there is now, because not a lot of people use it, there are now less viruses and exploits and worms for that system. But that will of course change over time as more people start to use it. I mean, the reason why it's not being targeted as much is because not a lot of people use it, and the people that do use it are not the simple targets you want for your virus or worm or whatever. I recently watched a documentary, in fact, about Adrian Lamo, the homeless hacker between quotes, and he talked about his hacks. And I kind of forgot which time frame I had to think in, because I was listening to the documentary. I was not really watching it. I was listening to the information. And he was talking about his hack, or his between quotes hack, as it were, of the Yahoo News Network site. And he was like, yeah, I went to Kinko's and I had a browser, and I just started clicking away, and suddenly I was on the news editing site, which was not even password protected. And all I could think was, what was the URL and when did you do this? Because nowadays you could not dream of clicking away on a site and being able to get to their editing page or whatever. I mean, everybody's using a CMS these days. Everybody has like WordPress, Joomla. So I was like, what did he do? I mean, everybody's like making this guy famous because he only used a web browser and Kinko's, but the year was 2001. Yeah, 11 years ago, you could do a lot of things on the internet and hacking away with only a web browser. That's true, but you could not try that now anymore. You definitely need, I'm not saying you definitely need the most sophisticated tools ever, but it definitely helps if you have at least some kind of add-ons or tools extra at your disposal to get what you need. and the other one was the database of New York Times, which was the same. The only real hack he did, at least in my mind, was the WorldCom stuff, because he figured out a system which they used, which is a very well simple system, and that's what it's all about actually. But the term hacker now also means that you are doing DDoS attacks with anonymous, for example, or LulzSec, or just to name a few, or are a cyber warfare dude in the war between Pakistan and India, or Palestine and Israel, or China and Taiwan. I mean, there's no such cyber warfare here actually in Europe, or I believe in the United States, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I do know a lot of Eastern European countries are producing the malware, and that's pretty logic if you think about it, because they are not set to be how you call it, like to make fun of them, as it were, or to be condescending. That's the word I was looking for. They are relatively poor countries, so the chance to use your knowledge to gain money, as it were, or wealth or status, is more easily made than, say, if you're living in a relatively wealthy country where your knowledge can be used to work in, I don't know, some commercial entity which appreciates, or not appreciates, but can use your services. I mean, that distinction is surely to be made. In addition to that, I have to say that Russian code is all nowadays. I'm not quite sure anymore, but like back in the days, where Russian code was clean as hell, because they had to write everything down on a piece of paper and do everything in their head, because they didn't have regular access to a computer. And that's mind-bogglingly awesome, that you can write code from the top of your head. You cannot ask that of any student in the Western society. They'll just be staring blankly at you, like, write an entire program in your head? That's impossible. So that's, yeah. But back to the term hacker. I mean, hacker should still remain a person that is just exploring the boundaries of new realms, as it were, or creating new realms for itself. And it's the person that just clicks on a button to see what it does. If it says do not push the red button, it's the person that's going to push the red button. But what does it do? Oh, it does that crap. Or it does not push the red button, but it will open up the panel and see behind where do the wires go and where do they connect to which system. So alright, so and then it finds out what the red button does, and then it can make the red button do other things. That's what a hacker is. And I think that term should be, well, not sacred, but guarded. I mean, you slap hacker to anything. You have patriot hackers, you have activism, you have helpful hackers. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but it's still one mindset and one type of guy who can be called that, I think. And of course, you have the script kiddies and the crackers. And crackers do, well, they basically do the same as hackers. They also write exploits. They also do that, but they do it for commercial gains. And that's the only difference. I mean, crackers help develop the technology just as much as hackers, but in their own way. Not condoning it, but they are driving the technology further. If we didn't have crackers, you would not have need of systems that protect content, or like DRM systems or stuff like that. So in their turn, they're doing their work as well to drive the technology even further. Script kiddies don't contribute anything actually. They're just a nuisance. I mean, everybody has to start somewhere. Believe me, it's not like I was like born or woke up one day and thought, now I have all the knowledge in my head to do everything. No, that comes with practice, and you get the programs, and you need to study the programs and the knowledge behind them to understand it, and you gain, and that's how you get further in this, like, no, that's not really a career path, but in this path of knowledge of to become a hacker, you need to at least read the Hacker Manifesto at least once to understand if, well, not to understand, but if to see if your reasoning and your mindset is like at least in big lines in line with that one, in a lot of ways, because that's something that's really important to becoming a hacker. It's not, you're not a hacker if you just download a random tool and fire it off at some target, and then you hit or miss or not. It's That's the people that are still trying to do the Google Docs that worked like 5-6 years ago with the index PHP's one, and then SQL inject the targets that they get in low-hanging fruit, as it were. Those are really a nuisance, and they're giving real hackers, a bad name. Alright, so it is done. Look at that. 3 infections found, 2. Because the ut.exe is linked to that one. Alright, and 6 warnings, right? Continue. Action. What do you do? Well, delete. I could, of course, ignore them all. No, because I want to see if, well, first of all, let's try heal. Well, we healed everything. What does this do? Cool. So basically, that's it. What do we have more? Oh, we even have, cool, we have TrueCrypt on here, and you have a fix MBR, and there are quite a lot of things on this one. Alright, AVG, that's pretty goddamn impressive. You even have a text www browser. Not bad at all. Well, AVG has 3 Trojans, or /2 actually, and 6 tracking cookies. AOSS has 0. So for now, AVG, you are the clear winner, and we will move on to the next one.